In this lab, we're going to be creating and applying an extended access list to one of the routers. And again, I just wanted to take a few minutes to help you get started on this lab. Now, I have already placed all of the devices into the workspace here in Packet Tracer. Notice that between router 1 and the ISP, and again between the ISP and router 3, I have used crossover cables there. When you connect like devices, you need to use a crossover cable to connect those. And the crossover cable is the dotted line down at the bottom. As you hover over it, you'll see that it says copper crossover. Okay, to kind of refresh your memory, we're going to begin by configuring. Okay, in step 1, we're going to configure the IP addresses on PC-A and PC-C. I see I have this named wrong. It should be C instead of B. Okay, so we're going to click on the device. We're going to go to desktop. We're going to go to IP configuration. And here we're going to put in our IP addresses, our subnet mask, and our default gateway. Okay, the subnet mask for PCA is 192.168.10.3. Subnet mask, if you hit the tab key, it will default there. Tab again to put in the default gateway, 192.168.10.1. And the default gateway is the IP address of the router port that the LAN is connected to. We'll also configure PCC. One 192.168.30.3 with the default gateway of 192.168.30.1. Okay, for our basic router configuration, we're going to start with R1 and go to the command line interface. Okay, we'll enable and we'll get into global configuration mode. Disable DNS lookup, so no IP domain dash lookup. We're going to configure the IP address on the interface, on both interfaces. So interface G01, IP address 192.168.10.1, and the subnet mask, so it's space 255.255.255.0 and no shut. Next, int G0/0, IP address 11.1.1.1, and the subnet mask of 255.255.255.252. And okay, again, I seem to not be able to get my fingers on the right keys tonight. And no shut. Okay, next we're going to do enable secret class. and we're going to configure the VTY password and enable Telnet access. And we're going to configure logging synchronous for both the console port and the Telnet port. So we'll just go ahead and configure that here. And configure the console port. And logging synchronous there also. Okay, and part G on step 2, we're going to configure RIP version 2 routing protocol. So, to do this, we're going to say router RIP version 2, and we're going to give it network addresses, and the network addresses are the addresses that are configured, the network addresses that are configured on this router. And I'm going to bring the handout screen back over here to show you exactly what I mean. Alright, we're configuring router 1 here. Okay, the network address for this network that comes down to the LAN, that network address is 192.168.10.0. Okay, the IP address is .1, but the network address is .0. On this interface up here, G00, the IP address is 11.1.1.1, but the network address is 11.1.1.0. And so we're going to put the two network addresses into the router configuration here. So we're going to say network 192.168.10.0. And we're going to say network 11.1.1.0. Okay, and for the moment that takes care of router 1. So we're going to exit out. You can also press Control Z and that will take you back out. And copy, run, start. Okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to configure the ISP router the same way, using the instructions that are presented in the handout, and you're going to put the router and the networks on that one also. Now, I have not spelled this out for you totally, but I'm assuming that you can figure out the network addresses on there. And then you're going to begin configuring router 3. Okay, now we're ready to configure router 3. So again, command line interface, enable, global configuration mode, configure the device name. I did notice that I forgot to do that on router 1, but you can go ahead and do that. So host name, this one is R3. Configure the IP addresses. So int G 0/1 IP address is 10.2.2.1. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.252. No shut. IP address, int G 0/0. IP address is 192.168.30.1. And subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. And no shut again. Alright, next, disable DNS lookup. So it's no IP domain dash lookup. Next, assign class as the privileged exec. So enable secret class. Assign Cisco as the console password and configure logging synchronous. LineCon 0. Password Cisco. Log in and logging synchronous. Configure RIP version 2. So it'll be router RIP version 2. Configure the network addresses, which when we configure the network addresses, what it's actually doing is we're manually building the routing table. That's how we're getting it started. So it's 10.2.2.0 and 192.168.30.0. And those network addresses are the addresses that are configured on this router. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do something different here, and we have not done this in a hands-on lab as of yet. We're going to enable SSH to enable secure communication through the telnet line. Instead of telnet, will be SSH into the router. So we're going to let's back out a level, exit. And it's going to be IP domain name, domain-name, cisco.com. We are going to generate an encrypted key. So crypto key RSA. And because we're on Packet Tracer, it does something a little bit different. We're going to press enter. We're going to do crypto key generate RSA. And because we're on Packet Tracer, we're going to press enter. And it's going to ask us for the modulus there. And the modulus that we're going to use is 1024. Then we're going to configure the telnet line for SSH instead of telnet. So line VTY 0/4 login local transport input SSH for encrypted input. And that pretty much takes care of the router configs at this point. So the next thing you want to do is you want to, in step 5, you want to verify connectivity between all of your devices. So go ahead and ping each of the PCs and routers and so forth. And we'll look at SSH again when we come back. Okay, I'm assuming that you are able to ping and that if you weren't, that you have fixed that. Okay, the last two parts of step 5 says from PCA, SSH into R3, and from PCB, SSH into R3. Well, I realized that I left out a step in the router 3 configuration. I have it in the instructions, but I neglected to type it in. So if you followed along with what I was doing and didn't look at the instructions, let's go back and put that command in there now. Okay, the command that I left out was username. So I'm going to go back to config T, and I'm going to enter the line that I left out. Username, admin, privilege 1, secret class. Okay, that means that I'm going to log in when I SSH into R3. I'm going to use the username admin and the password will be class. So let's see if this works. I'm going to go to PCA, and to telnet or SSH from packet tracer, you have to go down. You're going to scroll down and go to telnet SSH client. So when we get there, we're going to put in the IP address of router 3, 10.2.2.1. If we're going to telnet, we could drop down and use telnet, but in this case we're going to SSH. Username admin and connect. Okay, when it connects, it's looking for a password, class, and we have just accessed router 3 from PCA. At this point, it's just like we were locally connected to the router through a console cable. So we can enable, we can show running config, and we can see the configuration that we put in here. We can show IP interface brief and see our interfaces and so forth. It's just like that we were connected locally. All right, let's see if we can SSH from PCC. And we're good there also. Okay, let's move on down and go on to step 6. And step 6 is where we configure the extended access list. So we're going to configure an access list to allow an SSH connection to R3 from PCA. We know, we've already done this, so we know that we can do this, but we're going to put in an access list to do it, and there's a point to this, so just hold that thought. So we're going to go in here and we're going to configure a numbered ACL on R1 that allows that SSH. So go to R1 and enable, and we're going to configure this access list. Configure terminal, access dash list 100. Okay, 100 makes it an extended access list by the mere nature of the number 100. It's 0 to 99 is a standard access list, and 100 and above is extended. So, access list 100. Let's put a remark statement in there. It's just like a comment statement. SSH access. Okay, now we're going to actually do the access list. Access list 100. And in an extended access list, you can put the protocol, you can put the port, you can put the destination IP and the receiving IP, and so forth. So we're going to permit TCP protocol a host from 192.168.10.3 to the IP address of 10.2.2.1 using port 22. I left out host on this, so I'll go back in here and put host in there. Okay, now we've created the access list and we've got to apply it to an interface, and we're going to apply it to interface G1. Okay, extended ACLs should be placed closest to the source. So, interface G01, IP access group. Now, question, do we want it to stop it as it comes into that port, or do we want it to stop it as it goes out of that port? Okay, this is G01 is the LAN interface, and we want it to stop this as it goes into the LAN. So, in. Okay, so let's establish an SSH connection again from PCA to R3. Use admin and class as the passwords, and it should work. So let's just verify that it's going to work. And it worked. Okay, next thing. Okay, on step 2, show access list on router 1. You know how to do that. Okay, from PCA, try to ping 10.2.2.1 and see if it works. And it doesn't work. Well, it worked before. When we tried this before, we were able to ping from PCA to that router using 10.2.2.1. So, the question would be, why can we not ping now? And the reason we cannot ping now is because there is an implicit deny any at the end of every ACL. So this ACL that we created, ACL 100, will only allow that one SSH traffic out. Nothing else can get out of that, can go into even router 1. So you would probably need to fix that. Alright, as we move on down to step 7, we're actually going to do that. And we're going to allow any ping from that network. And I'm going to leave you with this because I think you've got the idea of how to do this. Okay, on this lab, just like the other, if you have any questions, be sure and let me know. Perform screen captures for each step in there and paste those into the Word document. And then when you're finished, upload the Word document into Blackboard.